All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back here again. God, Scott, it's like year 4, I think now. We've been doing a MLB season breakdown.
I think so. I think there's one year I did okay. I think there's one year you did pretty good. Pretty sure last year we both
We've been
took a
bad
bet a
last
little
year.
bit. I think I picked Luis Robert to be the MVP. So yeah, not my best year ever. Last year was kind of a crapshoot. So I mean, this year might be a little different. I know MVP wise we have our front runners and stuff like that, especially in the AL. But yeah, I mean, a lot of moves being made, a lot of names in different places, a lot of big names in different places. So this year could be interesting. I'm just happy baseball's back, man.
It was a hot winter, I should say. It wasn't a cold winter. It was a hot winter, hot stove league. But opening day is here. It's going up live on opening day morning. I know it's funny. The one year I didn't pick Aaron Judge to win the MVP. Of course, he breaks the home run record and wins the MVP. So that's
Right.
how that kind of goes. But let's just hop right into it. Let's kick it out west. And I think we're going to start with your defending World Series champions division, the American League West, home of the Houston Astros. What are your takes on this division?
Well, obviously, I have a lot to take on this division. I am, partially a Ranger and Astros fan. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I follow both teams pretty closely. So I know pretty good amount about both teams. But really, I think the big headline is going to be: are the Angels ever going to do anything with the two players they have, the two best players in the universe? Are they ever going to win anything? It's hard to say they're going to because it's been so many years that they haven't. Obviously, Ohtani got his championship, but obviously not a World Series championship over Mike Trout. But I just don't see them. The Angels, I just don't see them. They have too much money on the books with other players. A lot of injuries every single year. Mike Trout seems to never be able to play a full season. I think he's played like 4 full seasons in, I want to say 8 or 9 years. I think his first 5 seasons he had a couple full seasons, 150 plus games, but since then he's been, IL all the time. Shohei Ohtani, I think he'll do his normal thing, but Angel wise, I don't know. I don't think they're going to do it. Astros, obviously they lost Verlander to the Mets.
That's a big loss. I don't think that loss really is getting talked enough with the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, with the Astros, they always have guys to be able to just kind of fill their place in. They have Hunter Brown, who's kind of a dude. I know a lot of people saw him in the postseason. Really good player. He kind of models his game after Justin Verlander. But obviously losing Jose Altuve for about 2 months is going to suck too. But I mean, other than that, they got their pretty much same roster they did last year, same manager. He didn't retire, Dusty Baker. So you got Yordan Alvarez. He's going to probably hit 50 home runs this year if he's healthy the entire year. Bregman might have a little bounce back here. No, he's a little underneath his normals. I think he had like 260.
Well, no, he doesn't have no external help for Bregman anymore, so his numbers have come down quite a bit. Jeremy Pena is going to flourish.
Pena is going to be, this is coming off his rookie year. Could be a monster year after a World Series MVP year. Really the same team besides Altuve leaving or Altuve getting hurt and JV leaving. They got McCullers back for a full season. I don't think they had any injuries in spring training, so they got through that pretty much unscathed. But did they have any?
I don't think so. The Astros are really interesting to me. I mean, I could just touch on the Angels. A lot of people are picking the Angels to win. It's like amazing. Mike Trout leads a team to the World Baseball Final. Ohtani leads a team. Imagine if they were on a team together. Unstoppable. They're terrible. Now, Anthony Rendon should be back. He was like the worst player in baseball last year when he played. So maybe they get a little boost. I did like they added Gio Urshela at third base. That's a good defensive pickup. Yeah. And it's a guy who hits in the clutch. He's not a great hitter, but he tends to get big hits when he needs to. So maybe the Angels pick it up. The problem is the division is so stacked. I think the Astros take a little step back this year. Long season, celebrations. Altuve's obviously hurt. I think it pulls you back a little bit. They had the little extra edge. We all know why they had an extra edge, why they wanted to win, and it kind of, you lose a little bit of that gas. I think this team does more than enough to get through the regular season. I think the Verlander subtraction really kind of hurts them in the postseason more than anything. He's been their big money pitcher since 2017 in the postseason to get them those wins when they need them, especially to open up series. So I think for the regular season, this team is going to do more than enough to get things done. I don't think they feel the impacts later. An interesting team in this division, honestly, you know more about them than probably most people, is the Rangers. I think they're the most interesting team in this division. We can just sell off Oakland right now. They don't have a professional baseball team. They might lose 120 games this year. I mean, it's real bad in Oakland. The stadium's run by raccoons. It's a whole shit show there. So I'm really
I don't think there's really much to say with the A's. They pretty much sold their team to the Braves. They got rid of Matt Olson. They got rid of Matt Chapman. They got rid of. I mean, I couldn't even think of everyone they got rid of. But yeah, they're. I guess the only good thing about them is they have a AAA team in Las Vegas. So good for them having at least a fun AAA team.
But, yeah, which I'm sure the major league team will soon replace in Las Vegas the way things are looking. Because, I mean, I think their payroll is something like, what, $30 million or something like that? It's so stupid.
Yeah, something like that.
Baseball needs to get this whole thing figured out with at least a floor. I don't care if there's no ceiling, but you got to put a floor in place. Right. So I'm really interested in Texas. Now, Seattle obviously made the postseason. I think Seattle's going to be about the same as they were last year. J-Rod's going to be, on the scene doing his thing again. But I'm really interested in Texas. I think this is a Texas team. If they can stay healthy, they could win a lot of baseball. They have the best rotation in baseball if everybody plays, but that's a big, big, big if with this team.
So the thing with the Rangers is they bought a bunch of guys that are made of glass, and that's what you touched up on. DeGrom, I remember talking to Kenny and my buddy Jay when they signed DeGrom. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get at least 2 good spreads in AAA this year because we know he's going to get hurt at some point.
He's already hurt. I don't even think he's pitched yet.
He had like some kind of stiffness or something, first week of spring training. So he was already hurt. You have Evaldi, I think, has been hurt a few years. Odorizzi apparently has dead arm, is what I heard today from our coaching staff. He has dead arm. So who knows if he even comes back. They traded, Colby Allard for pretty much a guy who doesn't have a right arm anymore. And then you have Andrew Heaney. I mean, decent starter, but he's been hurt as well. And Martin Perez coming off a year that he pretty much had his career year. I don't imagine that happening again. The real big thing is their kind of their starting kind of AAA staff underneath. Glenn Otto also hurt. I don't know. I think he might be done for the year. And then you have Cole Reagans, who's very up and coming, but very, very good. You'll probably see him a lot this year, but really getting with everything else besides pitching. I mean, they got pretty much their entire the whole diamond is solidified now. They have the upper, obviously, if they have the up the middle guys with Seager and Simeon. They have Nate Lowe, who's now he's going to be he's a Silver Slugger, almost batting champ in the AL. I think second batting champ to Luis Arraez, and then third base, they finally have a guy who's going to be there for probably a decade with Josh Young, who was also hurt last year. So who knows there? But then the outfield, decent outfield, but not anything crazy. But like you said, a good, very intriguing team if they're healthy all year. I don't imagine they will be. With the Mariners, they actually have a really good pitching staff as well. With Robbie Ray, they have Luis Castillo. Logan Gilbert's actually pretty good. I've heard really good things about him. He's not talked about much. And I think they have George Kirby as well, who's also pretty solid. But offense is here and there. Kind of a bunch of Reds guys with I forgot what his name was, but they have 2 Reds guys. They have Suarez and I forgot the other guy was. Of course, they have Julio. But really, I know we've been kind of rambling with the AL West a little bit, but yeah, I think the Astros will probably come through. I don't imagine the Rangers will they'll probably get third place. They'll probably be about 500. With the Angels maybe just a few games above. I can see the Astros winning 102 games this year probably. I don't think it'll be too close. I know we're talking about
I think it's a little closer than that, honestly. I think the Astros slide back a little bit. Less division games this year. That kind of hurts the Astros. I think they can't beat up on Oakland or the Angels or Texas as much as they normally do. Maybe spread the love because the division has been really, especially down the stretch when we get to August. There's 3 teams in the division that are usually just sitting ducks at that point. So I think the Mariners are really, really hungry this year. And I think the Astros kind of slide back. They don't, the Astros, I think they don't put their foot off the gas enough, though. I think we're probably looking at like 97 wins for the Astros and maybe like 93 wins for the Mariners because they really push. The Astros aren't going to let this thing slip where they don't win the division. It's just all about injuries. I think they'll stay relatively healthy. I mean, they play in a bandbox. Like you said, Jordan could hit 50 home runs playing in Houston. It's easy pickings for him. So I got the Astros winning this division. I think it's a lot closer than you think it is. I really like the Mariners this year. I think once they got that, because they had like that 20-year postseason drought, they got over that hump. And they played okay in the playoffs, but I think they now know what it takes to get to that kind of level.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Mariners now have a little bit of experience, like you said. So they do. It really does mean a lot having experience in baseball. I mean, there's some sports out there where there's a bunch of even like Final Four right now. There's a bunch of Final Four teams that they've never been there, but they're there and they're making it a lot different in baseball. If you make it to the postseason, it's a whole different ball game. You would know that as a Yankee fan. Whole different game, and now they have that kind of taste to get in. So I do see a little bump with the Mariners. I really want the Rangers to do well, but man, I think there's going to be a lot of PF Changs in my future if I'm up at the ballpark this year. A lot of spreads coming my way with that pitching staff. Odorizzi's already going to be here like next week, so unless he's just shut down for good, who knows? But a lot of glass arms in that clubhouse. So could be very interesting if they're healthy. And
hey, they got rid of the shift, and Corey Seager lost the most hits to the shift since 2020. So, hey man, watch out. He might be hitting 400 this year with that. So, let's swing it on over to the NL, and let's start on the opposite side. Let's go to the East Coast. I think this is probably a very interesting NL division for everybody. I mean, the Metropolitans had a massive season last year, fell apart as the Mets do at the very end. The Braves were the team that caught them, and then out of nowhere, you're defending NL champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. So this is a very interesting division, I think, this year. All 3 teams kind of loaded up. The Mets maybe lost a little more than they would have liked. They did lose their closer in Edwin Diaz thanks to too much celebration in the World Baseball Classic, which you hate to see, but that was only a matter of time, man, if you're going down in a slight celebration like that. It wasn't anything crazy like that. So I'm interested in this division. Phillies are really a team I don't think is getting enough talk here. They just added Trey Turner, who was the star of the WBC for the United States. I bet he wishes he didn't sign that contract till after the tournament. He could have thrown another 0 on that thing. But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we said this last year as well. I think this is probably the closest division in baseball. I think it still is. I think last year I picked the Nationals to win. That worked out well. But yeah, like you said, the Phillies getting Trey Turner, the Mets getting Verlander, and really like the Braves. Whoever, I don't know who their GM is, but he is he's a risky guy, but he's doing it the right way, signing all these young guys early before ARB deals and before they become free agents. They're getting all these guys for, I mean, next to nothing. They got Acuna for about $100 million. They got Albies for pretty much nothing. They have Chuck Morton, Kyle Wright. They just signed Michael Harris. Junior or the third?
I think he's junior. I think he's a junior.
Michael Harris. They signed They signed him to a decent deal, and that was just his first year last year. And Spencer Strider as well, who's I think he's a top 5 odds guy for the Cy Young. Should have been rookie of the year last year if he didn't miss 3 or 4 starts at the end of the year. But very interesting team with the Braves. They are not spending that much money for a lot of young guys. Very risky though. Obviously those guys are not totally proven yet. When it comes to the Mets, obviously we've talked about this as well. Nobody can trust the Mets ever. It doesn't matter who they signed. I don't care if they got Justin Verlander. I just can't. I just can't trust them. They just like we've talked about. We just talked about this. In the regular season, you can win 110 games, but it's a different beast in the postseason. And they seem to not understand how to win the postseason like ever.
I mean, they took the Padres 5 last. I mean, they took them to 5 last time, didn't they? Or 3? Were they in the wild? They were in the wild card. They
3, yeah,
So
yeah.
hey man, they took them to 3.
Yeah, but you have that kind of payroll and you get just to the wild card. That's just unacceptable, especially in New York. I'm sure the New York sports writers had a day with that. I mean, Frank the Tank just about shit his pants with Barstool. So, like you said, Edwin Diaz going down. They have Scherzer, they have Verlander, they have McNeil, they have a lot of good players. They have
They got the polar
Senga.
bear.
They have Senga, who they just signed to. Kodai Senga, our interpreter with the Rangers is his interpreter now. But yeah, they got the polar bear. They have a good squad, but can you trust them? You just can't. I can't do. They might win the regular season,
but they couldn't even do that. They were cruising. They had like a 20-game lead or some shit like that. Not 20, but exactly. It felt insurmountable, and then they just fell apart. I do love that where you said you're overreacting like Frank the Tank. Well, Frank the Tank was right. You overreact sometimes, and sometimes you are. The wheels are falling off the wagon at sometimes. I think this division is the Braves division this year. I think I'm going to take the Braves. I don't know about you. We're probably leaning the same way. I think it's close. I'm interested to see what Philly does with a full year without Joe Girardi because, I mean, they were so far back having Joe Girardi to start the season. I mean, it's a handicap for any team to deal with Joe. So I'll be interested to see if they can carry that momentum over as well. But Bryce Harper's out till
the Phillies also lost Rhys Hoskins, too, for the year a couple of days ago. So it's one more pretty big bat they lost. And like you said, if Bryce Harper's out, too,
I think he's out till the All-Star break. They're projecting from the
those are Tommy two John. Big bastards that are going to be out for a little while, so they got to make up for it somehow. So yeah, I mean, Marlins once again they got
Jazz.
They got 2 good players on their team. They got Sandy and Jazz. Good for them. I don't see them winning more than the 70 games. I don't even know what the projections are, but Nationals as well. I don't even know who they have anymore.
They have the best odds. They have the worst odds to win the World Series. They don't even have Sandy. They don't even have Sandy anymore. Sandy plays for the Cardinals now. Oh wait, no. Sorry.
No.
We're in the thing. I thought he got traded. I was thinking of who they trade. They traded Sixto, right? Somebody.
Yeah.
Pablo Lopez. Yeah. Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, they traded somebody.
One of those Latin pitchers down there in Miami got traded that was pretty good. There you go.
Yeah, so the Nationals they have Keibert, who they just signed to a big deal. Keibert Ruiz, CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia.
Abrams that they got from the Soto trade is about
and then Mackenzie Gore they also got from the Soto trade, Mackenzie Gore. So yeah, I don't mean interesting team, young team. They might win 60 games. I mean, I don't know what the projections are if their over under odds are, but yeah, I think overall the Braves are probably going to pull it out here, especially if they can stay. I mean, all teams, especially if they can stay healthy. It's a long season, but they have the depth to be able to. They have enough pitching. They have enough hitting. Not enough young hitting. If Acuna's there all year, Albies is there all year. Who knows if they will be? But with the Mets, probably just really taking a fight to the very end, maybe like a game and a half, and they'll probably make a wild card spot and sneak into the playoffs. But I mean, the Mets are a pretty good regular season team. They'll have 2 big horses to ride on, 2 old horses, but horses nonetheless to ride on. But
hey, man, everybody's young now in baseball with all the blood doping going on. It seems like these old guys are staying around forever that they ain't tested for. So
it is funny, kind of off subject, but I was kind of eavesdropping a little bit earlier today, and Cole Winn, who played, who's kind of a big prospect for the Rangers, I guess he got asked a question in spring training about Jacob deGrom, and he was saying, since Jacob deGrom is, in the clubhouse now, do you kind of look after what he's doing for preparation and, kind of change your preparation to kind of mock his? And pretty much Cole Winn, he made that kind of cliche kind of answer about, yeah, we know everyone has their own, way of doing things. But in reality, he was saying, Jacob deGrom does nothing. This guy does absolutely nothing to prepare for anything, and he's that good. And probably that's why he's getting hurt all the time. But
He just shows up and shoves.
apparently deGrom literally just shows up and throws 102, which is incredible. And probably to your point, I don't know how these old people are doing it, but they're able to throw 98, 99 still. And I mean, deGrom's not old by any means, but he can still do it. He's
got the body of an old man.
incredible.
Jesus,
it's incredible. But that aside, in NL East, I'm going to go with the Braves.
Yeah, I think we're in line with that, and it's an open secret. I think you're kind of ignorant if you don't think everybody in professional sports is ahead of what the curve is right now. If they,
it's interesting. He said he pretty much does nothing, doesn't even work out, does nothing at all.
Eats M&M.
This guy's a freak.
And he was a horrible pick too, wasn't he? Like a 50th round pick or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think he was picked after Russell Wilson. I think.
Yeah, a lot of people were picked after Russell Wilson, but
all
right.
I mean, he's like 150 something. But anyway, we're kind of going off on a limb here.
Oh, that's what the people like here. All right, let's meet in the middle now. We're going to the Central. Let's hit up the American League. This was a surprising division last year. Guardians won the division, the youngest team in baseball last year. I think they're the youngest team again this year. So a lot of high expectations. The letdown, the perennial letdowns, the Chicago White Sox. I don't know. I think it's amazing how it's a team that everyone felt like was right there and they were going to pop, and it feels like that window has gone and shut and closed. They lost the heart of the team, Abreu to Houston. We didn't even talk about that. I saw he's playing first base, which is wild to me to even think about. So, but Chicago, they've fallen off. Minnesota is where good players go to die. I should say they play good players go there because there's no pressure. They can hit all they want in Minnesota. They're shit in the postseason. They're shit in big markets. We know all who I'm talking about there. It seems to be a cavalcade of guys up in Minnesota like that. They do have some young pieces that are interesting. The Royals are a couple years away. The Royals are probably the most interesting team because they have a lot of young guys I want to watch play. Bobby Witt Jr. in particular, he probably feels like he's going to be one of the next crop of young superstars out here. Yeah, it's just a weird division. I don't even know. It feels like the Guardians run away with this thing.
Yeah, this is kind of like the division of rookies a little bit. They got two huge rookies in this division with Torkelson, Spencer Torkelson. Now Bobby Witt Jr. is obviously a second-year guy. I guess it's not all rookies, but
the young crop. It's a young division.
I don't know why I thought Bobby Witt was a rookie. He's definitely not. But it's kind of the division of young guys here, especially with the Tigers and the Royals. Guardians being the youngest team in baseball. Twins kind of just picking back Correa back up. They have a few good players.
How many $200 million contracts can one guy get in a year?
Yeah, exactly. He kind of circled the globe to land right back in Minnesota. Really, I would say Twins, Royals, and Tigers probably out of it. So you're pretty much just thinking White Sox and Guardians. I mean, White Sox have pretty good rotation with Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease, who was I think second in Cy Young last year, Lance Lynn, Kopech, and they picked up Mike Clevenger too, who was in some legal issues. I think.
Oh yeah, he with his. I think it was like a girlfriend issue
something
or
like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was. I think he's still playing, but they pretty much have the same team besides him, and then losing Abreu with TA. They have Robert Moncada. Pretty much this whole entire division is basically the same as it was last year, with 1 year later. So really, I think White Sox were our team to win the World Series last year, and they barely broke 500, if they even broke 500. I don't know if I want to pick them again. I don't know if I trust. Is La Russa even their manager anymore?
I don't know. I was actually looking that up. I think he is still.
I don't know if he died or not. I didn't remember.
They really need to move on from him. I think he's part of the reason why. No, as manager, no, it doesn't look like it. Maybe he was fired.
So So he's gone. All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad they don't have a old school manager now. That might help them a little bit.
Pedro Griffel. I don't know who this guy is.
Who is it?
Pedro Griffel, White Sox manager.
Oh yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Well,
Maybe this is the energy we need in Chicago right here. We need
that
some
that might
interjection.
that might be a turning point right there without Tony La Russa, barely getting around the clubhouse without dying. So who knows? White Sox, Guardians, probably your cream of the crop there. I think it's probably a 2-horse race, maybe 3 games between those two teams. I think it won't be any more than 90 games for either. Maybe 90 games for one of them. It might be like 90 games for the Guardians, 87 for the White Sox. They'll kind of just beat each other up, and then they also have the West and the East to deal with the Yankees and the and the Blue Jays and those good teams like that. So I think I'm even seeing Guardians win 84 games and win the division. So
Oh my God!
um,
Could you
so barely
imagine?
500. I'm saying probably the Guardians win it by 3 games.
I I like the Guardians too here. I think that's probably most of the baseball world's pick. I can't imagine anybody going out on a limb here. They won the division last year. They were real hot to finish the season last year, man. They kind of figured it out with the young guys. Took the Yankees to the brink in the DS, thanks to weird scheduling and stuff like that. Um, I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. So I like the Guardians here. Terry Francona seems to know how to push all the right buttons, unlike Tony La Russa did with those young guys. So I think the Guardians are a safe pick here, even though I kind of, why can't they just go back to the Indians, man? I hate the Guardians name. It's so stupid. But I think the baseball team in Cleveland probably gets it done. I can't trust the White Sox, even though as much as I love Tim Anderson and that squad over there, they seem to they're like the Mets. They're turning into the Mets and the Phillies, just a letdown in the regular season.
And their pitching staff is pretty solid too. If they could just hang out and take a full season with Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, who does 103, and Giolito, who seems to be good every other year. They have the pieces.
They have a good bullpen too. It's not like their bullpen's a disaster. They have Hendricks closing it out. It's just they go for they got a lot of Latin, what do we call them, the Latin bashers last year that just they get real streaky, man. And if you're real streaky in the wrong direction, it just compounds and compounds, and you never get out of that hole. So maybe a little more even keel with that pitching staff would help them a lot. So, all right, let's turn it on over to the National League Central. This is kind of another boring division. This is a baseball division. When I think about this division, it feels like the 1970s. There just feels like no excitement out of the National League Central. It's hard to get, man, I don't get up watching the St. Louis Cardinals play baseball. Sorry. It's boring ball. It's always been boring ball. The Brewers the same way. They're okay. Just nobody is flashy ever in this division. It's a snooze fest of a division. But that being said, good baseball teams do come out of it. Good baseball teams do win World Series at this division. I have a hard time finding anybody beating the Cardinals in this division.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you right there. They have pretty good core infield, decent pitching. Really looking at the other teams though. Cubs, not really great. They have Ian Happ, who's coming off an All-Star year, but who else do they really have?
Oh, Seiya Suzuki, man, big time international pickup from last year. Exactly.
And the Pirates are probably another half decade away again from getting anywhere. They do have Cabrian Hayes, and of course they have Brian Reynolds, who
he's gonna get traded. I keep saying he's gonna get traded to the Yankees every other day.
I think he signed a decent deal with the Pirates, but I think he'll eventually get traded somewhere. I think the Rangers are looking at him too, but everybody's and probably the most, I won't say the most exciting, but very exciting player, O'Neal Cruz, throws 100 from shortstop, runs really fast.
6'7", 6'8",
really tall, really young, interesting player, but he can't carry an entire city on his back. So you can pretty much count out the Cubs, Pirates, Brewers. Pitching's okay. Corbin Burns with the Cy Young guy, Corbin Burns, but other than that, Christian Yelich is kind of a shell of what he used to be. He didn't have a very good year last year. Brandon Woodruff's a decent number two. Really, other than that, I mean, they don't really have much to really compete with. So it really comes down to the Cardinals, and if they can stay healthy, once again, I keep saying that, but that's kind of what it has to deal with here. Arenado with Goldschmidt, Edmund, Japanese superstar Lars Nootbaar in the outfield.
Newbar.
Their bullpen is spectacular too. They have kind of one of those Yankee sort of bullpens that kind of last 3 innings of the game are pretty much GGs with Hensley, who throws probably 104 easily. Gallegos, who was in the WBC, who I think gave up some big home run, but still a very good player. And then when you get to the ninth inning, you have Jordan Hicks, who also throws 104. So really, it comes down to a 6-inning game most games if they have a lead. Great outfield, Tyler O'Neill, Canadian, probably the biggest biceps in baseball. Really, it's Wilson Contreras. They lost Yachty, but they picked up a great catcher, Wilson Contreras, who can also have the battery and the with the pitching.
Gives him a little bit more offense too from behind the plate because Yachty was really struggling to swing the bat.
Yeah, exactly. He can, and he has the defensive capabilities as Yachty does. Pretty close. Now, Yachty was one of a kind, but Wilson Contreras can still do it. Wainwright's back. I think he can handle it with Contreras. I know he's like 48 years old, but
Wainwright at 106 pitching. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. If I think the big guy in the pitching staff is Jack Flaherty. If he can actually play a full season, I don't think he's played a full season yet. He's been hurt every single year. I'm pretty sure. I have to look that up, but pretty sure he's hurt every year. They could win 95 games and kind of run through the Central. Central is usually a pretty close division, but as of late, 3 teams really out of it from the get-go with the Pirates, Cubs, and then we haven't talked about the Reds yet. So, which they're not really that great.
Hunter Green, they got Hunter Green though. Hunter Green gonna be.
They do have Hunter Green, who's a very, very, very exciting player who throws 1,000 too. So, yeah, I mean, we're looking at chalk here right now, but yeah, I think Cardinals would probably win 92 games. Brewers will be about 5 or 6 back after that, and then 3, 4, 5 can pretty much you can switch either or for them. I think they'll all be below 500. So. Cardinals probably by 5 games.
Such a boring division. I feel like I'm just shitting on the NL Central, but that's always the NL Central. It's always a boring ass, sleepy division. But it brings you back to a better time, in the 70s when real men played baseball. But yeah, Cardinals cruise here. They're not exciting. We see they always get knocked out in the postseason. The Cardinals haven't made a big run in a long time. So it's just kind of like one of those spot holders. Maybe they can do it. If the Cardinals are healthy, they could possibly do it. The problem is big bats and big stars show up in the postseason, and the Cardinals just kind of, Goldie does, I love me some Goldschmidt, but he just doesn't seem to be that guy. Same with Arenado, great regular season players, just not really there when the moment needs it. All right, where are we heading? We're going to the East. To my division, the American League East. This was a fun one last year. I think a lot of teams disappointed, and the Yankees and the Orioles overperformed to everyone's standards. So that was fun to see. I'm going to let you start with this one. I'm going to hold back on this one a little bit. Let me see what you think.
Sure you have plenty to say about this one, but yeah, I mean, Yankees coming off a Aaron Judge, pretty much Aaron Judge and the boys. 62 homers is pretty cool this day and age. I know you saw number 62. I almost saw number 61 by about 5 feet, which was would have been pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees did their Yankee thing. They got Carlos Rodon. They have a decent starter now. I'm not sure who else did they get this year besides. I know they have Velope at shortstop now, but.
It's Anthony Volpe. Okay, that's the next Derek Jeter. You better respect that, man. The Yankees made a bunch of weird moves, Okay, yeah. They got Judge back. They brought Judge back. That was the biggest move. They had to bring Judge back. That's the captain of the team. I mean, anybody who watched the Yankees last year, that team was dog shit without Judge most of the season. And when Judge kind of struggled, they were pretty bad, and they had the big long losing streak. So that was good. But Rodon's hurt again. It's just
So I mean, it will be interesting seeing Volpe if at short. He's like 21 years old, taking in the concrete jungle all by himself out there. 21 years old is pretty crazy. If he could get off to a shitty start and the Yankee faithful will tear him up, or he could
but they
start
won't.
off hot and he could be the next Aaron Judge and everyone will love him. So who knows what's happened? What will
like 10
happen?
years away from Jeter. I mean, so our shortstops have been shit since Didi, okay? Nobody's as bad as Kiner Falefa.
This is my time. Hey, enough.
Nobody's bad as Kiner Falefa. They won't boo him out that quick.
So yeah, I mean they're an interesting team. Blue Jays obviously they have once again we keep saying young guys, but they've now been around for 3 or 4 years with Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette and Alejandro Kirk, interesting catcher who I didn't even know about last year. Somehow made an all-star team. Bo Bichette, I don't know if I just said him, but they have Chapman, they have Barrios, Gausman, Manoah. A lot of names that they can win games for them. I really do think it'll come down once again to the Blue Jays and Yankees. I think this is going to be it for probably the next five years. I think these teams are going to duke it out. Rays, we said this last year as well. Somehow they always, doesn't matter who's on the team. They got Randy and Wander Franco, but other than that, like somehow they still win 80 plus games and somehow still make a last wild card spot. And every single year this happened. Shane McClanahan, who he was a early onset Cy Young candidate, but kind of fell off. Orioles are definitely a interesting team. They might be the youngest team in baseball. I don't know if they are or not, but they probably are. Sud Mullins, Santander, Mountcastle. Of course, they have the two. I don't know if probably isn't a rookie this year, but Adley Rutschman probably. I don't know if
I think he still
is he a rookie this year.
What
is he count as a rookie this year? So I mean, they still have Rutschman. They have believe the number one rookie in baseball, Gunnar Henderson, who'll start for him as well. So very interesting. I don't know if they'll repeat what they did last. Were they above 500 last year?
They were, I believe.
Like 1 or 2 games, maybe. I don't know if they'll get
finished in third. Let's see.
Yeah, I think
they had a great season.
They had like 83 games or 84 games, maybe. But yeah, I don't think
83 and 79. They finished in fourth.
Okay, so they did get over 500. I don't think they'll be over. I think they'll probably be 80 and 82 this year. Just below 500, probably third or fourth place. Red Sox, I mean, I wish I could say they were good, but they really aren't. Even though they kind of surprised people early on the year and middle of the year, end of the year, they kind of fell off. And I don't know if they definitely weren't above 500 by the end of the year. But I think did they get Corey Kluber? They might got Corey Kluber this year in their.
Oof, that's tough, man. That's scary. I'm scared.
That is, I mean, they have a decent little starting pitching, but nothing really to. With Chris Sale, he's probably going to get hurt. That always happens. Adalberto Mondesi, Raul Mondesi Jr. is now on their team. Good for them. It's really Yankees. I think it's the Yankees Blue Jays, and honestly, Yankees will probably win. They'll probably get 94, 95 games. Blue Jays probably about 90, 91. So probably 3 games back. Yankees will probably win. That's my prediction.
All right. So yeah,
go off now.
The Red Sox are shit. We know that they're pretty terrible. They're Rafael Devers, and he's kind of another guy who's kind of streaky when he wants to be. If he's not hitting, he's as bad as they come. But when he hits, he mashes. So they lost Bogart. So the Red Sox Sale's already on the IL for the entire season. He just somebody said they were wearing the City Connect uniforms and he had a meltdown and broke his neck or something because he's a psycho. They lost Bogarts. They don't have any good prospects. All these young guys that they thought they had played last year and they were pretty awful. So yeah, Red Sox are bad. I think I'm with you on the Orioles. I think they take a step back this year. They really popped and were the feel good story. Kind of felt like they might have got into the playoffs there and then they kind of faded away. I think they pull back this year a little bit. And I think next year's the year when they really pop and they make a playoff run for them because that's a good squad. But just very, very young, like you said. I'm interested to see Gunnar and Adelaide switch hitting catchers, man. I love me some switch hitting catchers. For them, the Rays, they'll win 85, 90 games somehow. They're the damn Rays. That's what they do. But maybe they won't. Eventually, you can't keep doing what they do and it not totally backfire in your face. I think we might start. I think they might be bad this year. No shifts. They were the kings of the shift. They lived on the shifts. No shifts, they're going to get eaten up by teams that can hit. The Rays shifted differently than everybody. They shifted more than everybody, and it always worked out. Can't shift, can't pitch into the shift. You might have some problems having to score 5-6 runs a game. Like, hey, I'm all for it. I want to see more offense. I hate the pitch clock. It's a little too fast. Needs to be a little longer. 20 seconds would have worked. But no shift. Offense. So I'm with you. Blue Jays, Yankees. Yankees made some okay moves. I was ecstatic they re-signed Judge. I don't give a shit what the number is. You have to re-sign him. I really like the Rodon pickup, but he's already out for another month. He's out till May or maybe the end of April. They're just so banged up already. They don't have a left fielder. They're running a battalion out there. Was Oswaldo Cabrera's maybe going to play left field? Aaron Hicks, who's dog shit. He can go disappear somewhere. Bader's hurt. Liked what I saw from Dominguez. I thought Dominguez might get a shot to make the team. Another switch hitting center fielder, but he's probably a year away. But he living up to everything I saw lives up to that hype.
We didn't talk about your team losing the Cuban Missile too. That might be that might be a little help out of the bullpen.
That does help them out, I think.
The Royals.
Yeah, he can go pitch in Kansas City where nobody gives a shit, and he can blow 3-run leads in the ninth all he wants because nobody's watching. Yeah, MIA for the playoffs. They didn't even have him in the postseason. So lost a couple of other bullpen guys. My favorite Chad Green missed most of last year, and he's gone. So we'll see if Clay Holmes can bring it again. I think this team really overperforms for what their roster is. I do like having Rizzo back, no shift. Rizzo's another guy who hits big into the shift, so that helps a lot. He'll get a couple extra cheapo base hits, which you need sometimes. I love that they called up Volpe to play shortstop. I don't know if he's going to start opening day. I hope he does. He starts tomorrow, hopefully, or today for those listening. Last time they called up a 21-year-old shortstop, we all know what happened then. So I love the move. Cashman needs to be more aggressive. We've had 3 shortstops. We have him. We have Cabrera's a shortstop by trade, and we converted him into left field. And then you have Peraza. So you didn't trade any of them for any pitching, so you might as well friggin' play them. Hopefully DJ's healthy. If DJ's healthy, this team rocks. DJ needs to be healthy. He's your RBI driver in. He knocks in the runs. He tends to get up in the middle of the game when guys are on. He's got to hit him in. Donaldson, hopefully, breaks his ankle walking down and he's done for the season. He's the worst. A horrible person and a horrible baseball player. Kermit the Frog, our pitcher, Garrett Cole, cut his locks, so maybe he's going to have some of that pitching that he had in 2018 back with, he doesn't have the flow anymore. He can throw those greased up balls a little bit better, put a little sticky stuff back there. He can't hide it as good, maybe gets better access to it. So I think the Yankees kind of are going to be banged up this year, and I think they struggle. I think we struggle this year. But you know what? I don't trust the Blue Jays whatsoever. All their Mr. Talk, they're one of those teams that talked a whole lot of shit for a team that won a whole lot of squat. I remember last year Vladdy's, they beat the Yankees late in the season. Vladdy walked off. He said, "This is my house." And then the Yankees proceeded to beat them twice to win the division in Vladdy's house. So it's just, I kind of hate Vlad Guerrero Jr. I really do. He's got all the bravado with none of the backing it up. He fades late in big spots. He's bad. Bo Bichette, I think he got a little overhyped. I don't think he was ever really that good. I think he's a solid player. George Springer's always hurt, which doesn't help anything. The pitching staff is good. Alex Manoah is very scary. He's a guy that I think, if he's on, he's on. He is a Cy Young type candidate. I don't really feel like, I feel like the AL East kind of lets down this year. I think everybody's kind of mediocre. I'm going to have to, by requirement, pick the Yankees, but I'm not very confident in this pick. I think we're going to have injury problems this year, but I just do not trust the Blue Jays. I do not trust the Rays anymore. I honestly, if the Orioles win this division, wouldn't be surprised if they just got crazy hot with a young team and they won the division. It's a weird division, but yeah, that's where I stand on the AL East.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, at least team-wise, I agree with you. I think the Yankees will probably win by a few games. Orioles will take a few games back, but like you said, they could easily, with a young, fresh set of legs with all those rookies and second, third, fourth year guys, they could easily, kind of duplicate what they did last year. And then the Red Sox, they really don't have much. Rays, they'll somehow win 80 games, and with a decent pitching staff, and they have Randy McClanahan, like I said. I mean, I really do think it's still just the Yankees Blue Jays division, and one of the two will come out on top. I'm guessing if one of the other three come out on top, that'd be pretty surprising to me. But yeah, I guess you're hoping your Yankees will win, but who knows what will happen.
Honestly, I don't even care at this point. I'm kidding. I do care, but I don't think they're very good, but I was pleasantly surprised last year. I'll put it that way. Let's finish this thing up. NL West. I think this is a division that's not getting enough talking about. I think there's really interesting movement here. I think the Dodgers, it feels like the end of an era almost. Like, it's a team that's always been winning this division. They've dominated this division. They've dominated baseball. They've won 100+ games like 5 years in a row, 6 years in a row. And they have 0 real World Series. They won a bubble World Series, a 60-game season World Series, with no fans and no pressure. I don't know how I feel about this Dodger squad. They're saving up. They're clearing the money. They're going to sign Ohtani next year. So maybe next year is the year to get real hyped up about the Dodgers. The Rockies are terrible. They barely field a professional baseball team, another team, which is unfortunate. Sucks for them. I think the Diamondbacks are a little interesting. They're not going to be good.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but they're interesting. They have some players there that are very intriguing. Possibly have a Cy Young guy if they really step things up in Arizona. But I think that's another team that's, they're trending the right direction, but they're just
I think they're trying to do the same they're starting to at least kind of try to do the same thing the Braves have done with signing the young guys early instead of getting them to ARB and then having to, give them up later with Corbin Carroll, who has done barely anything in the big leagues. And he just signed, $80 million deal, top prospect in baseball behind Gunnar Henderson, I think. At least they're 1 and 2 at least. But I think they're going to try and start to duplicate that with some of the young guys too. Like I said, interesting team with Marte and Ketel Marte. They have Christian
they're
Walker.
Not super flashy. They're not like the Braves got some flashy guys. They're not flashy, but they're interesting. Like we said, the big
Alec Thomas also in center field. Interesting, very very good player. I think he was a Cardinal a few years ago, I believe, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, interesting team. Go ahead.
The big boppers is who I want to focus on. I want to focus on the Padres here. The lineup from hell. I mean, good God. Fernando Tatis is going to miss 40 games or something like that, I think.Maybe not even quite that much this year. He's got to finish out that suspension from last year. So I don't know what you're going to get out of Tatis back, but I don't know where the hell the Padres got this money. It's gonna come out in 5 years that this is all fake. It's all fraud. Everybody's going to jail. But they broke out the checkbook. Somebody's cashing checks. They signed Bogarts away from the Sox, which was, I think, a very good underrated move. Maybe Tatis is your DH when he comes back. Maybe he's a DH kind of guy because his defense kind of fallen off.
I think they wanted to put him in the outfield. That's
that too. He's got speed. He's got speed. You could DH Soto. Soto kind of, for a guy who's as young as he is, he kind of fallen off. He's turning into Giancarlo Stanton, where he can't play defense anymore. in the outfield. So you got Soto, you got Machado, who I think Machado was a real MVP case last year. I felt like that nobody talked about. My man was slashing like 320 for most of the season. And he kind of said, I'm opting out, and they gave him a fat new contract too. So respect the game, Manny. I think the pitching staff, not up to par. They did get to the NLCS last year on that wild card run, so they do have very good experience. And when they get hot, they're very good. This is a death lineup. I would not want to face this lineup on any day. I didn't even talk about like Jake Cronenworth, another real scrappy guy right there. This is a good team, and it's deep. It's deep. I think this is a team that can sustain a couple injuries in the field, and they can plug and play some guys that'll keep up the production. Maybe not from a power standpoint, but a lot of nice defensive guys and average guys. So I like this Padres team a lot, man. It's just, can we trust them? The question is, can we trust the Padres?
Yeah, like you said, like the lineup is going to be dangerous. I think top to bottom, 1 to 9. But like you said, they have a great 1-2-3 punch, starting pitching wise with Musgrove, Darvish, Snell, great 3 top of the line starters. But no, they can be great.
Darvish is kind of all over the place.
Like I said,
Java Joe is your big time.
All three of them are injury prone. I think they've all had injuries at some point, and they've all had really bad years at some point as well. If all 3 of them can do well, good for them. Also, their bullpen. Josh Hader, the best reliever in baseball with the Brewers, comes over to the Padres and has like a 6 ERA.
The worst reliever in baseball.
So, I don't know. Bullpen-wise is a very big question. No one's counting out their offense. Top to bottom, 1 through 9. Doesn't matter who you're facing. You're facing a perennial, probably decent all-star or above average player. Padres are very dangerous. They're spending a lot of money for a reason. They want to win a World Series in San Diego, and they are obviously willing to spend whatever they can to get somebody, get everyone they can to win, because they're facing the other team in baseball that do the exact same thing.
They're playing pay to win.
And they have, not only do they have these MVP caliber players, they have, they have decent players coming back from injury, like Dustin May, who throws 100. The big ginger, who's very, very good. Tony Gonsolin, I believe, is hurt for a little while. Maybe I'm not 100% sure, but close to MVP. Not close to Cy Young candidate last year. I don't even really need to talk about their lineup. They have MVPs all up and down with Mookie, Freddie Freeman, and the boys. I'm not even going to talk about them. Did lose Trey Turner though. That was a big loss. He's a 25 guy every single year, hitting over 300. Great defender. Especially with the pitch clock, I bet he can probably steal 40 bags this year instead of 25 bags. He'll find a way to work around this pitch clock thing. I think a lot of players actually will. If you have decent speed, you can definitely somehow work this pitch clock thing in your advantage, especially with only being able to pick over once, right? You can only pick over once or twice, and then maybe twice.
And then after the third time, it's a balk if he's not out. You can pick over as many times as you want, but you have to get him out. So
interesting. So
it's not like everyone was like, okay, the guys are going to be halfway to second base. Can't quite do that, because if they do pick you off and you're out, you're out. So,
but if you have a guy who has those fast twitch, get back to first base quickly, and get big leads, you can easily get 40 bags from players this year, and maybe the base to base offense will come back, and they lost a guy like Trey Turner, so that's tough. But really, when it comes down to it, I still think the Dodgers will win. It'll be a little closer than it has been in the past couple of years. Tatis coming back, at least back into 3/4 of the year is big for them. Don't know where he's going to play, like you said. Could play DH, could play outfield, could play second. I don't think they're going to kick out Ha-Seong Kim. He's pretty good too. He'll probably get stuck in the outfield. He's kind of a defensive liability, so who knows what they're going to do in the outfield with Tatis if he goes out there. But I think Dodgers just they have the guys who've been there, and it doesn't really seem like they're really falling off too much. They have Syndergaard as well. Pepiot is also Ryan Pepiot, their top prospect, is going to be their fifth starter this year. Really good player. I think he came in a little late last year and had a few good starts. So interesting to see them. Kershaw's back for another year. Who knows what he'll do? But he had a decent year last year. Almost had the no-hitter perfect game earlier in the year, and they got yanked. Yeah, I think Dodgers will probably pull it out. We didn't even talk about the Giants. They don't really have much either this year.
They have Arson Judge. What do you mean Arson Judge plays for them?
Just not really much going on there in San Francisco, but they're kind of like a race type team who will win 70 to 80 games, maybe get close to 500. Who knows? But in that division is going to be tough.
Yeah,
the teams.
The Giantes, they were really good 2 years ago, and then just really awful last year. I think, maybe it is they're on the odd year cycle now. They were on the even year cycle to start the 2010s, so maybe they're on the odd year cycle where they're good again. They got a bunch of plumbers and farmers out there, it feels like, in San Francisco playing baseball. I mean, nobody excites me on that team whatsoever except Jock in October, but they got to get to October 1st, and that's the key. I think this is good. We're split on this one. I'm going with the Padres. I think the Padres win the division this year. I think the Dodgers are kind of getting they're feeling the heat a little bit. Dave Roberts, some interviews I've listened to from some people talking about Dave Roberts is feeling the heat of not getting that World Series. Real World Series, I should say. They feel the pressure. They win so many games every year, and they just don't get it done in the playoffs. It's not even like they're in the World Series every year. They're kind of falling short the last few years. So I think they feel the heat a little bit. It'll be nice, Dustin May and Walker Buehler is going to be back. Walker Buehler missed some time last year also. Clayton's 100 years old, another guy, but he ain't like those other old guys. He more of a finesse guy. He ain't shoving it like them. So we'll see. I think they lose, their middle infield is not great anymore. They lost Trey Turner, and then whatchamacallit got hurt at the start of spring training. They lost their other shortstop.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They tore his ACL at the start.
What is his name?
Is it Taylor?
No, I forgot what his name was.
But yes, their middle infield is not where it's at anymore, which is what you kind of want to have there. Mookie's always great. But Mookie could be down. Mookie just kind of, some years he's got it. Some
Gavin
years
Lux. Yeah, Gavin Lux.
Gavin Lux, there you go.
Yeah.
So, they lost both shortstops, essentially. And that was already kind of a weaker area to begin with the Dodgers. So, I think they take a step back. I think it's a playoff team in LA, but I think the Padres win the division this year. I think this is the year they overtake them. Let's get into our 3 wildcard teams real quick, who we think will be joining our division winners. So, I'll just start in the NL. Like I said, I think the Dodgers come out of the West. I think they're also a pretty good squad. I'm going to take the Mets out of the East. I really do. I like the Mets a lot. And I'm going to go with Philly also. I think Philly just has enough to match with the Braves. So I think it's it's essentially a carbon copy of last year. I don't see any changes except, seeding and stuff like that. But I think it's the same 6 teams we saw last year.
Yeah, so I had Braves, Cardinals, Dodgers. So Padres will definitely get in. I believe they'll be right behind the Dodgers. Like you said, the Mets will probably get in as well. So I have Mets number 2. And weirdly enough, I think they were close last year. They didn't quite. I don't know if they quite made it, but I think the Brewers might sneak in.
Okay, that's okay.
I think the Brewers might sneak in just in that last spot.
I think they just missed it, lad. They were the Phillies got it right out from at the end.
Yeah, so. Yeah, we're going to go Padres, Mets, and Brewers in the NL.
All right, I like it. All right, who's your AL squads?
Yeah, so I had Yankees, Indians, and Astros. So, I want to pick the Angels so bad, but I just can't do it. Blue Jays definitely getting in. They'll probably be the number 1 spot. The Twins, I think, are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They might sneak in the 3rd spot, and I want to pick the Rangers, but man, that's just like the riskiest team in baseball. I think the Mariners will probably get in the 3rd spot. They're scrappy enough with a decent starting pitching, and I think Julio will have pretty massive year this year. So, yeah, Blue Jays, Twins, and Mariners.
All right, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm with you. I got the Blue Jays. I really like the Twins. The Twins are an interesting. I will have the balls that you did not have. I'm taking the Mariners and I'm taking the Rangers to come out of the AL West. I think the Rangers hold up enough. Hold up enough. I think they got a good starting nine. And then the pitching is going to be good enough on most days if it's healthy.
And we
They're not
didn't talk about Bruce Bochy being their manager now too.
that's a big
Completely different culture change for them. So they had a Dodger guy for whatever 4 years, 5 years, younger guy who kind of just went about his business and didn't really do much. And they bring in a guy who's old school and been there before. So complete different culture change for the Rangers. So that could also be the difference as well. Who knows?
I do like that. That's you got some hardware on the table. You start to listen for that. All right, let's get to our World Series picks. I think this is really tough for me. I'm for sure gonna go with the Padres out of the NL again. I really like the Padres this year. I think they got a good experience last year. And I think this is the time for the Padres. They're going to have some home games in San Diego, sunny San Diego in October, which will help out a little bit. Because I think the cold, I really do think the cold in Philadelphia got to them in that NLCS. So I think the Padres out of the NL. The AL is really tough for me. Like I said, I think the Yankees are going to be hurt and really inconsistent. For me, and they kind of struggle in the postseasons when it comes to playing Houston. I think Houston takes a big step back come playoff time. I just don't think the focus will be there. I really, really, really think the Verlander loss is going to hurt. That's a guy you're starting every series 1-0, essentially, with Verlander on the bump. That may not necessarily be the case anymore. Now, maybe the young guy, maybe the other guys have the experience to do that. I think it's going to hurt them more than it's talked about. So this was tough. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take the Guardians, I think, to come out of the American League. I think the Guardians get hot. They had a really good series against the Yankees. I think it's going to be beneficial matchup-wise. I think they get maybe some favorable matchups in the postseason. And I think the Guardians are coming out of the American League.
It's not as far-fetched as you think. So I'm going to give you my ALCS and an LCS. So I was actually going to take the Astros and Guardians in the ALCS. Astros winning to be your pennant champs in the AL. And then I had the Padres and Cardinals in the NL. And by probably a 7-game series, I think the Cardinals would pull it out.
I like
so
it.
So Cardinals would be my World Series. I don't know if you said your World Series.
No,
champion.
I did not say my champ. I'll go first. I'll let you save it. I know you're about to give the KOD. I do want to remind you we have not had a repeat champion in this millennium. So that's not a good pick where I know you're going right here, I think. I could be wrong. Could be going with the Cardinals. I'm going with the Padres. I think the Padres get it done this year. Good for sunny San Diego. They finally get a World Series championship. I think they're going to get the benefit. They're going to get Tatis back. That'll be an injection in the middle of the season. I think the pitching will be good enough. I think Hader comes back to Earth. I think he comes back to being Hader. It's very rarely a guy just falls off a cliff like that. Change of scenery, trade midseason. Sometimes that happens. I think the Padres get it done, and I really like. Oh, we missed our awards. We didn't even get to say our awards. Shit.
We'll get him here in a second. All right.
All right, we'll get him here. I think I'll hint. I think they're led by a guy who could be an award winner on the MVP side of the ball that not a lot of people talk about. I think Manny Machado really carries. He takes that growth. I think he's a guy that's needed a lot of growing up, kind of immature. And I think he's going to be that leader type role. So I got the Padres over the Guardians in 6.
Okay, Padres are pretty. It's a pretty good pick. They have an all-star lineup with like I said, top to bottom with interesting starting pitching. They'll get to my NLCS against the Cardinals, but With Cardinals Astros, yeah, I mean, I kind of have to do what you're thinking here. I don't think the Verlander loss is as big as we all think. He actually wasn't even before last year wasn't even that good in the World Series. I think he got his first win in the World Series ever last year. After
Good in
having
the
a really bad,
playoffs, though.
horrible game one.
Yeah, but they won that game, so it doesn't even
They
matter.
did, they did, but he still gave up like 5 runs in like 4 innings or something like that. So not as big of a loss. They still have that revolving door of just dudes. Ryan Hensley will play second base over Altuve for the first couple weeks and first couple months, and you'll see he'll probably hit around 260. Carry the load for him a little bit after losing Altuve. Not obviously you can't really replace him as much as many of other players, but I think I think the Astros will probably win in 6 or 7. I don't want to pick a repeat champ, but
Kiss of
I
death.
mean
The kiss of
they've
death.
I know they went there last year. They were in the ALCS in the COVID year. They played the Nationals a couple years before that. They're in the ALCS every single year, and you can't deny that. Obviously, we're going to talk about the whole cheating thing, but that was like 8 years ago. It feels like it was a long time ago.
Well,
So
2020. Since the COVID, they've not when it came out. Since
it's
2019,
still.
they've
I
done it
mean,
twice. They've
they've
done it
been there.
twice.
They've been there and won it since then. So we're not going to get into the cheating thing, but they've been there or been to the championship series pretty much every single year for the past 6 years. So they will be there. Cardinals are a different story. They have a great starting lineup and also a great starting pitching, but also they have those corner infielders, Arenado, Goldschmidt, who are both MVP candidates with a good outfield and a great replacement and leader with Wilson Contreras at catching. So and also, like I said, your kind of Yankees type 7, 8, ninth inning pitchers who are kind of up and coming, both the seventh and ninth inning guys who throw over 102. They're incredible with Gallegos in the middle of them. Very interesting team. They'll probably win the Central pretty quickly. Well, not quickly, but pretty easily. Brewers will kind of sneak in at the end, probably third wild card, just over 500. But yeah, they'll play the powerhouse with the Astros and probably lose 6 or 7. Like I said, I don't want to pick the chalk team, but
I like it. It never works. It never works. There's been so many teams we said are going to repeat, and we've yet to see it in 23 years, 22 years now. We've yet to see it. Very rarely do we see a sleeper there. So maybe a year off and then back.
I mean, we also haven't seen a 4, 5, 5, and 9 seed in the Final Four. So it's
Actually, that's not. It's
now.
only but it's the second highest total. There's been higher totals. Basketball, man. All right, award winners real quick before we wrap this bad boy up. It's getting a little long here. I hinted at this. My NL MVP, I think Manny Machado wins an NL MVP here. I think that's a interesting guy. I think that doesn't get enough talk. AL MVP, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. Jordan would be my second pick as a sleeper pick, but I'm going to take Shohei. I think all the buzz around him after the WBC, they're just going to give it to him. It's going to be one of those things like Ohtani does both. He needs like 4 or 5 MVPs. So I think Ohtani gets the MVP, even though the Angels are dog shit. And then he plays for the Dodgers next year. For my Cy Young winners, this one was a little bit tougher for me. If DeGrom's healthy, I really, really want to pick DeGrom, and I do have the Rangers in the playoffs. I just don't think he plays enough games. For me, I think Bieber is my pick. I have the Guardians doing some work. I know that's pretty a safe pick, but I like me some Biebs. Shane Bieber with your AL Cy Young. And my NL Cy Young, this one was a little bit tougher for me. I think I'm going to go with Max Scherzer. I think Scherzer's going to, they like giving it. Aaron Nola is another interesting guy, but the Phillies, it's the Phillies. So I think Max gets it done. Maybe he loses a little bit if Verlander's, bringing that fire too. You kind of get lost sometimes if you got a rotation that's shoving. Usually you want to be a standout guy. So But I think Scherzer's going to get one here. I think the Mets are going to really have to be carried by their pitching this year for them.
Yeah, I like Peter going against the chalk for once. It's kind of nice. 'Cause with NL you have looks like you have the seventh highest odds. Currently, it's Trey Turner. Obviously, he's getting all the hype. He's getting all the hype out. He's getting all the hype after WBC. I think he's the betting
helped.
favorite. I think he's
But
plus 600, 650 right
bags,
now.
like you said, 40 bags. No Bryce, carry that Phillies team.
Yeah, when you kind of look at the teams, I mean, Ronald Acuna, if he plays a full year, maybe Freddie Freeman, maybe Goldschmidt, Arenado, perhaps. But I think Juan Soto will probably bring it in the NL. Got a big lineup around him. He can probably hit 45 homers. Hopefully hit 300. We'll see. He didn't have a great start in San Diego, so he's kind of still settling in San Diego. I think he'll have a big year. And you have Machado, so kind of the number 2, number 3 guys in the lineup with those two. NL, it's really just, I'd say it's a 4 or 5 man race there, maybe just 4. Ohtani, Judge, Trout, Yordo, maybe Julio Rodriguez in there if he has like a 30-30, 40-40 year with this new pitch clock thing. But yeah, I'm with you with Shohei Ohtani. It's kind of like the NBA doesn't want to give Jokic the back-to-back-to-back winner. I don't think baseball wants to give a back-to-back winner. So they had to kind of go in between.
Well, there was at least somebody broke a record, a serious record.
True. I mean, Jokic is averaging a triple-double as a 7'3" guy, whatever fucking tall he is. But very, very great player, but he's somehow not going to get the MVP. But that's a different sport. We're not talking about that. Shohei Ohtani will probably win 13 games, hit 40 homers, hit 260, and strike out almost 200 batters. So he might have a few more good years pitching, and then he'll just be a full-time DH, I'm sure. But until then, he'll be a MVP candidate every single year, and he's really the odds-on favorite. He's plus 175, and then Judge next is plus 500. So Ohtani is pretty much
free money.
I won't say locked in, but he's very high up there.
Injury is the only thing that could shut him down. The injury is the only thing that could shut him down.
NL Cy Young, we obviously added Justin Verlander into the mix in the NL. Interesting with Corbin Burns. You got Max Scherzer, Max Fried, Zach Wheeler, interesting player. Julio Urias with the Dodgers, interesting player. He did really well in the WBC. Sandy obviously won last year. I'm going to go with a second-year guy who actually I tried to bet on to win the Rookie of the Year. Spencer Strider, I think, will win the NL Cy Young. He struck out probably, I think it was like at least 1.5 or 6 strikeouts per inning last year. I think he had quite a bit more strikeouts than innings pitched, which is a very good sign when it comes to pitching. Max Scherzer's probably up there too, but Spencer Strider, I think he's a 6th overall right now, plus 1,000. So Spencer Strider.
That's a good bet, man. I like that a lot. I do like that a lot.
Sandy's at plus 450, Corbin Burns plus 500, Verlander 650, Max Scherzer 800, Max Fried 1,000. So kind of mid-level. Spencer Strider, if he's healthy all year, I think he can win 20 games and do really well. American League, like you said, DeGrom, he's actually the favorite right now. Dylan Cease, who got second last year, is second. Garrett Cole, Rodon, Bieber, Ohtani 6th, which is wild when you're a hitter and a pitcher and you're number 6 in the Cy Young. I'm actually going to go with the 7th guy, Alek Manoah for the Blue Jays. He's going to have a big year. Tough division to pitch in, but he's going to have guys behind him. A lot of bashers, a lot of young bashers. We say young, but they're all 3rd and 4th year guys. But big year for him. You also have Kevin Gausman, I think I picked last year for a sleeper. Framber Valdez, Luis Castillo, McClanahan, Christian Javier, who's a interesting pitcher too. He's a lot of strikeout guy. But yeah, I'm gonna go Alek Manoah. DeGrom is the front runner, but we'll see if he even can last a full year.
I like that. We mix it up a little bit. I think there's good value to be had with our bets. Yeah, Manoah's scary. I said it. He's a scary guy. Maybe you do get even a little bit more leniency pitching in the AL East, with those boppers out there, that your numbers don't have to necessarily be the best, especially on the ERA front. If you're getting those wins and strikeouts, you can get it. So, all right, that's going to do it for us this year. Scott, It's another year down. We'll probably check back in, obviously, during the season to keep tabs. It's a long grind. It's a long marathon. In the end, hopefully we get one of it right. It would be funny if it's the Astros Padres in the World Series. We get half, and one of us will be right.
We would have to come back.
We'd have to live. We might have to live stream those games
exactly.
at that point. So it's a lot of fun. Love doing it with you again. But again, if you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Doing videos every single weekday. News videos. Baseball's coming around. I'm sure I'm gonna be talking about DeGrom being out for the season come Friday. So there goes all my picks.
Also, football season comes around. I promise Backyard Bookies will be back for anybody who tuned in last year. I wanted to continue, but we were doing so poorly last year that I didn't even want to give out my picks and waste everybody's time. So next year, football season, we will bring you winners. We will bring you bangers. We will bring you money. I swear we will do it.
See, I told the people you got your kneecaps broken and you were hidden in a closet by some Vegas mobsters, but that's a different story.
That may have happened too.
That's a different story. But again, thanks for everybody stopping by, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.